Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Rosenberg. I'm Senior Vice President of Programming Acquisition at Charter. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming here to celebrate the upcoming launch of Black News Channel. It's really exciting. We're especially pleased. Oh, all right. We're especially pleased to have here tonight Representative Karen Bass, who's the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Representative Yvette D. Clarke, co-chair of the Multicultural Media Caucus. They're both champions who are committed to enhancing diversity and inclusion, including in the media and technology space. We're also honored to have one of BNC's founders, former Congressman J.C. Watts, as well as former Tallahassee Mayor and Vice President of Government and Community Affairs for Black News Channel, John Marks, all here to mark this important occasion. From the communities we serve to our employees, our commitment to diversity is more than just an aspiration at Charter. We're putting it into action every day. Charter has long been supportive of independent programmers and believes it's vitally important to partner with multicultural networks to ensure that our diverse customers have access to the news, to the education and entertainment that is relevant to them. To that end, Charter offers our customers over 100 international networks in more than 15 languages. We recognize that the demand for diverse and targeted African American programming is growing among our subscribers, and we're committed to meeting that demand. In February, we launched the Spectrum Lifestyle package to provide, to provide customers a new low-price, high-value video option. It offers more than 50 of the most popular lifestyle, entertainment, and news channels, more than 10,000 on-demand titles, and the fastest internet starting speed available for the price. We also have significantly expanded the distribution of TV One, Revolt, Aspire, Up TV, the Impact Network, and Bounce TV. And this year we launched TV One's Clio TV, a new lifestyle and entertainment network for millennial and Gen X women of color. We also have partnered with Clio TV on the She Speaks, We Listen tour in cities around the country, including New York, Raleigh, and most recently Orlando. We also offer one of the most robust Latino packages of any major cable provider, with over 130 channels, more than 75 of which are Spanish language networks. The January launch of BNC, the first and only African American focused 24/7 news network. It builds on our commitment to meet the needs of our diverse customers, and we're proud to be one of the first providers to distribute it to customers in many of our largest markets. JC, John, and BNC co-founder Bob Brilliante have worked hard over the last decade to find a way to fill the gap in programming that highlights issues and topics important to the African American community. And their hard work has paid off. When BNC launches, it will give a voice to the issues and priorities that matter to African Americans. The programming will help inform, inspire, and empower African American audiences across the country. Let's now take a look at a BNC feature from Spectrum News.
There are dozens of cable news networks in the United States. One might say there's something for everyone, left, right, and down the middle. Well, starting next month, the Black News Channel, or BNC, will elbow its way into a crowded field.
Something that would be culturally specific to the African American community, and that's the mission of the news network, to be culturally specific.
Former Oklahoma Congressman J.C. Watts is the chairman of the nation's only African American news network.
And for every 16-year-old you show me on the news at night that's black in handcuffs being taken to jail, I can show you 100 16-year-old black young men who are getting up every day trying to make their mom proud of them.
Minshew and the Jags.
The billionaire owner of the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars, Shahid Khan, is the majority stakeholder of the cable and satellite network, which is based in Tallahassee, Florida.
It appeals to me because I think there is a huge unmet need for this kind of content for the African Americans.
That is such a blessing, an honor for people of color all over the world.
I think that's amazing.
I think it only makes us stronger as a people.
One of the oldest ethnic groups in the United States, blacks make up about 13% of the population, around 40 million people.
BNC News for America.
And BNC's research shows that African Americans are the nation's most loyal users of subscription TV services, but they're an underserved and underrepresented viewing audience.
You've got a unique perspective there.
Watts says most cable news outlets rarely focus on positive black news.
If you've got 10 people and 7 white, 2 black, 1 other, they're trying to capture as many of those 7 as they possibly can. Our business model is designed to go after those 2 African Americans.
They want to have something to identify with, and so we've had programming and it's kind of disappeared.
Spectrum will be one of the first providers to launch the Black News Channel, making it available in many of the top TV markets around the country. Cheryl Wills, New York One.
So congratulations again to JC and John and the entire BNC team on the upcoming launch of their groundbreaking new channel. I'd now like to introduce the Honorable John Marks, Vice President of Government and Community Affairs for Black News Channel. John also serves as the managing principal at the law firm of Marks & Marks, LLC, which focuses its practice on intergovernmental relations, utility regulation, telecommunications, and internet and media technology. Prior to joining BNC, he was the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, from 2003 through 2014, which makes him the longest-serving mayor in the city's history. Mayor Marks, the floor is yours.
I really like that introduction. I haven't heard it in a while, so. But anyway, I want to thank all of you all for being here. This is a wonderful event. And I want to thank Charter especially for doing what they are doing on behalf of the Black News Channel. This has been long in the making, and on behalf of myself and others, again, I want to thank Charter. I want to thank all of you for being supported, being the kind of support that we need to make this happen. It's Charter Communications and people like, and entities like Charter Communications that's going to make this thing, this idea, this concept, what we're trying to do, they're going to make it successful. And again, I thank Charter, I thank what they're doing and how we're approaching this. You saw the video, that's just the tip of the iceberg. When you see what we have really done and what we're going to do in terms of television broadcasting, it's going to knock your socks off. We really, really have done. And JC, you're going to hear from him shortly. JC Watts, Bob Briante, I have a small part in it, but they are really the brains, the idea. They are really the inspiration for everything they've done. They came to me and I said, of course, yes. They came to me when I was the mayor of the city of Tallahassee and asked me to get involved. And I said, sure. You know, the good thing is that the Network Operations Center, guess where it is? Tallahassee, Florida, okay? You know, it will be probably one of the largest and probably the only network operations center in Florida. Maybe Telemundo may be in South Florida. Telemundo is there, but think about it. We're in Tallahassee, Florida. But I want to take an opportunity not only to I want you to know that some of the people that are going to make this happen. We have some of them here. These are the folks that we have put on board. They're going to make this happen. JC, of course, you're going to meet. Mike Anapolsky, raise your hand. Mike Anapolsky, Morris McWilliams, Tommy Ross, Jeff Hanergy. Jeff is here. Kelly Wright, where's Kelly? Kelly is really going to be good with us here. Clara Wilkerson, where's Clara? Clara Wilkerson is with us. Tracy Caldwell. Timothy Wright, where's Tim Wright? Is he? No. All right. And Steve Pruitt, Steve, where's Steve? Everybody knows Steve Pruitt. Steve Pruitt is Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., Mr. Washington, D.C. We got Corey Hebert. He's going to be our chief medical editor. And there may be others. And if you are with the network, please raise your hand. We want everybody in this room. Oh, I'm sorry. Dell, you don't know Dell. Who does not know Dell? All right. Dell is with us. He's going to handle our Washington Bureau. We just got a wonderful team, a great team that's going to make this work. Now, I want to take the opportunity to introduce an individual who is so very, very important to us. She's head of the Black Caucus. She is a wonderful lady. I've had an opportunity to talk to her on many occasions. She's doing so much for us, and so much on behalf of Congress, so much on behalf of the people of the nation and the Black Caucus. That is Congressman Karen Bass.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. It is certainly my pleasure to be here with you. I'm a little distracted over there. I serve on judiciary. We're a little preoccupied and focused, but I did want to come here with you for a minute to say how excited I am at the idea that there is going to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week Black news station. Number one, it's news, and not just kind of what we have a lot of opinion, but actually we need more news. And we have 54 members of the Congressional Black Caucus who would love the opportunity to be a part of the network because you don't always see us. And we represent and cover many different issues obviously focused on the African American community, but issues like homeland security and financial services and on and on. And so the idea that there would be a network I am very excited about. I will tell you, when Tommy Ross approached me, Tommy and I went through the California wars when we had our Great Recession, and we have worked together for the last 15 years, and he introduced me to J.C. Watts a number of years ago. And so when the two of them came and told me about this concept, introduced me to the mayor, I was thrilled from day one. And so I can't wait to let everyone in the caucus know about it. And maybe we should even think about the annual legislative conference that happens every year in September, that maybe there's a way that we could actually begin to tell America what the Congressional Black Caucus does and what happens at this event, that everybody knows about the parties and they don't know about the hundreds of panels and all of the thought leaders from around the country that are there every year. And so maybe that's something that we could work on together. I'm also very proud to be here today with one of the most influential members of the Congressional Black Caucus, Yvette Clarke, who you're going to be hearing from shortly. You should know that she has, the reason why she's one of the most influential is because she's the vice chair of one of the most significant committees, and a committee that falls under the jurisdiction of issues related to the channel, and that is the vice chair of Energy and Commerce. So I just want to thank everyone for your involvement. We are looking forward to the launch, and we are looking forward to seeing how we expand, develop our partnership with the news station. Thank you very much.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, we are so thankful that she was able to come and spend some time with us tonight. But we're going to have a little conversation right now, if that's okay with you all. And I just want to first and foremost thank all of you for being here this evening at Charter Communications. I want to thank the Charter Communications team for their support of this event. Our Executive Vice President of Government Affairs, Catherine Bohegan, who is standing over there offering this space for us this evening.
Hey, Waldo,
yes,
the Government
absolutely.
Affairs team, I'm giving you guys a standing O.
And if you don't know who I am, my name is Waldo McMillan, and I am a vice president here at Charter Communications for legislative affairs here in Washington, D.C., working on these issues. But let's get right into it. Joining me on stage this evening, she needs no introduction, but we'll give her one anyway, is Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke from New York, Brooklyn, New York. And as Congresswoman Bass mentioned earlier, she serves as the vice chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, but she also serves as co-chair of both the Smart Cities Caucus in Congress and also the Multicultural Media Caucus, which she founded, I believe, back in 2015 to really address issues around diversity and inclusion in media, technology, and communications. And so we're so grateful that you are here with us this evening.
Thank you.
Also want to introduce a man who also needs very little introduction, and that is former Congressman J.C. Watts of Oklahoma. Congressman Watts is a man of many talents, a Renaissance man, some would say. First came on the national scene as a college football star at the University of Oklahoma, where he quarterbacked the Sooners to the Orange Bowl championship, then made his way to Congress in 1994 from the great state of Oklahoma, rose to become the chairman of the House Republican Conference, which was the fourth highest ranking position in Congress at the time, and now serves as the chair and co-founder of the Black News Channel. So welcome, Congressman Watts. Welcome, Congresswoman Clark. So we'll get right to it. So Congressman Watts, you and your business partner, Bob Briante, have worked for over a decade to bring the Black News Channel to fruition. What was the motivation behind starting BNC?
Waldo, in somewhere around 1998, 99, I led a congressional delegation to Africa. And we went to West Africa, and you have to do a bipartisan delegation. And one of my Democrat friends was William Jefferson, who went with me. He was one of the Democrats who went with me, and we went and we saw little huts where they kept the African people before they brought them, went through the door of no return, never to see Africa again. But we saw doctors and lawyers and engineers, and we saw farmers, we saw moms and kids in school and health clinics, hospitals being built. So when we came back, Bill went home and talked to his 90-year-old granddad, and he was telling him all that he had seen. And he said, we saw the little huts where they kept the African people before they took them through the door of no return. And he said, but we saw doctors and lawyers and African pilots and engineers and health clinics and hospitals being built. And he said his 90-year-old granddad said to him, I knew there was more. And that's the mission of the Black News Channel. There's more to the African American community than we usually see. We see sports, and I come from the sports arena. We see sports and entertainers, and we see crime. But there's doctors, there's lawyers, there's legislators. Karen mentioned just the breadth of history and information you can get from the CBC, but there's more to the African American community than what we see. And so we want to we'll talk about the issues of the day, current affairs, but we want to present a more comprehensive story, and not just for the African American community, but the entire nation.
Man, that's great. Thank you, Congresswoman Clark. So you represent a very diverse and vibrant district in Brooklyn. Why do you believe it's important for your constituents to have diverse programming? And what does the upcoming launch of BNC mean for you and the community you serve?
Well, first of all, I'm just so excited about the Black News Channel because we don't have as many opportunities to view ourselves and our narratives authentically portrayed through those who have similar experiences. And what is significant to me about the Black News Channel is that it will be a reflection of people of African descent. It didn't say, the news channel for people who were born in Brooklyn,
right,
or the news channel for people who were born in Oklahoma. It said the Black News Channel. And that's significant in a constituency like mine because it is a very diverse constituency. And the diversity extends even among the Black population. So that I have people from around the world, people who migrated from the South, have lived in the North for many years now, people who've come from the continent, people who've come from the Caribbean, South and Central America, all of African descent, all seeking knowledge, information, and a viewpoint and a lens that is familiar, that speaks to their experiences and how they analyze the world around them. So I'm really excited about what we're about to embark upon here.
Yeah.
And Waldo, to the representative's perspective, I've often said that we are a network that is culturally specific to the African American community. No disrespect to any other network, but rarely do you hear anybody on any network on the TV dial today talking about sickle cell. That's something that primarily impacts the African American community. Culturally specific, we just had Thanksgiving. By and large, the African American community, when we're talking about Thanksgiving dinner, we're talking about cornbread dressing and we're talking about sweet potato pie. By and large, the white community, when you're talking about Thanksgiving, you're talking about stuffing and pumpkin pie. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't interchange those dishes, but culturally specific to us would be sweet potato pie and cornbread dressing. And so, culturally specific.
Baked mac and cheese.
I talked to one of my Hispanic friends, and he said, I was telling him the story, and he said, well, he said, for Thanksgiving, we may be eating beans and rice. So we have different things, different cultures have different meals. And so, but it's a lot of things like that we never hear, we never see them in the mainstream media when it comes to the African American community.
So when you're thinking about particularly the images of African Americans on TV, and when you think back on your own experience, was there like a particular TV star or a TV show or a network that really informed your perspective on how important it is to have diverse images of African Americans on TV? And it's a question for both of you, Congresswoman.
So in New York City, for many, many years, as sort of a public information programming, WABC TV had a program called Like It Is with a host named Gil Noble. And Gil Noble, he chronicled just about everything about Black people. And with his passing, his wealth of journalism has been archived, and so it's missing. We don't get that level of granular exposure to the Black experience that I had the honor of viewing and helping to shape my world, quite frankly, coming up. And so I think the Black News Channel is going to fill a void in many spaces in that regard.
Great, Congressman.
Sidney Poitier was, when I was a kid growing up, to see him in leading roles on TV, and I had a chance probably 15 years ago. I did the Harlem Book Fair, and I did a book report on Sidney Poitier, and I met him about 2 months after that, and we got to talk, and I said to him, I said, you did some really cutting edge things in your career in the 50s and 60s, and he was the Denzel Washington of his day. And so, and I said, that was pretty amazing. He said, the amazing thing was I had people that wanted to tell those stories. The Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I mean, those were cutting edge things that just kind of went against the grain of what Black people were seen as being able to do, and things that they could say. And so Sidney Poitier, but from a journalistic perspective, Jet and Ebony was my connection to the African American community, and in my neighborhood, I didn't see Black men. I've gone to work almost every day of my adult life in a coat and tie or a helmet, but I'd peel the pages of Jet and Ebony. My sister would bring them down from Tulsa, and I saw CBC members and Sidney Poitier and Black actors and Black quarterbacks, and that was kind of my journalism connection to the Black community. I had a chance to visit with Lou Stokes, who is just a consummate gentleman. Listening to Bobby Rush talk about the stories of Harold Washington in Chicago as a Black mayor, but I had lunch with Lou Stokes and John Lewis. It was on my bucket list to do that when I first came to Congress, and I was able to do it. And I was talking to Lou about his brother Carl becoming one of the two first African-American mayors in major cities. And he gave me a little bit of little inside information. He said the guy from Indiana, Gary, Indiana, I forget his name, Hatcher, Mayor Hatcher. They both were elected at the same time, but Carl was sworn in a week, like a day earlier, so he could say he was the first African-American mayor. But Ebony and Jet, TV and radio and TV was a little bit foreign to me in rural Oklahoma. But my sister would give me the old Jet and Ebony magazines, and that was my connection to a world that was largely unknown to me.
Wow, that's fascinating. So let's shift a little bit, Congressman. I want to ask you about your relationship with Charter Communications. Tell us why it was so important for you to develop the relationship with Charter and how instrumental that was for you in launching the channel.
Well, Waldo, when I was in Congress, Congressman Rush at the time, Jack Fields on the Republican side. I was not on the Energy and Commerce Committee, but and those two men kind of led the charge in putting things in bills, telecom bills, and Jack would consult me because I came out of the utility space when I was in state government, and he would consult me, and we would talk about diversity and programming. The FCC has spoken to diversity in programming. And when we started this effort, probably 12, 13 years ago, we've actually lost ground over the last 20, 25 years, but when we started this effort 10, 12 years ago, it was some pretty serious sledding. And voila, we engaged with Charter. Charter comes along, bought into the vision of what we were trying to accomplish. And, you know, and still distribution is still major. And if someone thinks that you can do it without distribution, it's a pipe dream. And we were pretty much just a pipe dream until Charter, and that's why I said I stand up and give a standing O to the government relations team, because Catherine and Waldo and the team kind of bought into our vision and understood where we were going, and you know, said we think the business model makes sense. And once you can get distribution, and they could have seen it as risky, and I suspect somebody sitting at the table thought, I'm not so sure, but they did it. And the fact that they did it, it made us real. And things after that has kind of fallen, they've kind of fallen into place, where today in January 6th, we'll have over 60 people employed in Tallahassee, Florida. Have bureaus in New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, several other places. And, you know, we, in football terminology, we're in the red zone, Jimmy, and we're about to raise our hands on January 6th. But we would not be, I would not be sitting on this stage tonight with the Congresswoman talking to you about this had it not been for Charter saying, we believe in your vision, and when I say your, B and C, because it's not just J.C. Watts, it's a whole lot of people that contributed to get us to this point.
Great, great. Well, continuing on with football terminology, we're at the 2-minute warning. The Congresswoman has to get back to the Hill for votes in a very few minutes. So Congresswoman, I want to just sort of leave it here with you. You are a leader on these issues on the Hill, and the Congressman talked about how difficult and tough sledding it's been to really sort of, you know, get these issues off of the ground. What are you doing on the Hill right now to sort of move this ball forward? And what is your message to companies and how they can help create more Black news channels?
Yeah, well, Walter, I guess keeping with the football metaphors, I'm like the running back. We've been really pushing forward for diversity and inclusion in the broadcast space, in the cable space, in the tech space. Yeah. And it's because, we live in a multiracial, multi-religious civil society. And for far too long, our media did not speak to that. Yeah. And to this day, does not fully speak to that diversity. And I think that, many companies have been short-sighted in that. The thought is that if there's a Black news channel, only Black people are going to watch it. And I beg to differ. Because I look at the impact that we all have on one another in civil society, and I look at ways in which, quite frankly, the talent, the information, the expertise of Black people have been appropriated, repackaged, and sold by other folks. When the talent, the authenticity, the ability to tell those stories, those narratives exist right there within the community, creating opportunities for others who are curious, who want to know straight from the source, what's going on? How do I get involved? How does this all come together in this great nation called America? And that's what this next generation of legislators, of news channel owners, of companies such as Charter need to be looking at. Because as you look at this next generation coming up, they're far more engaged with one another in one another's experiences than perhaps even the generation that preceded them. And they're going to want to know more of the narratives of one another, the stories of one another, the triumphs and the challenges. And for too long, we have been sort of boxed into the stereotypical views and portrayals of who one another are. And what this does is it creates an opportunity for us to see each other in many different ways and rediscover the humanity amongst each other in this great experiment called United States of America. So I can't say how many more times that I'm excited, because I am. It's something that I've yearned for. And I think that a lot of Americans yearn for another perspective. If you travel across the world, it's so interesting to see the offerings in other countries and how they portray the lives of others in other parts of the world. We have not scraped the surface of what we have to offer the rest of the world because we've boxed ourselves in.
That's right.
This is great. And I want to commend Charter. I want to commend the Black News Channel for making this happen. I'm going to be vigilant. I'm going to be on them. And make sure that this is a success and this is a model that others will emulate, because indeed it is time. It's the 21st century. We're going into 2020. I'm that running back.
All right. Well, Congresswoman, thank you for your leadership.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Congressman, thank you for your courage in starting the Black News Channel. And thank you all for being here this evening to celebrate this launch. And Congressman, I'll leave you with the last word.
Well, I would be remiss not to say, there's policy issues surrounding what we do, what you guys do at Charter, what people who are in that regulatory space with FCC and so forth. And I'm going to get in trouble by naming names because I'll leave somebody out. So many people have contributed to us getting to where we are. But I'd be remiss not to point to Bobby Rush, Yvette Clarke, and G.K. Butterfield. We've not had any finer advocates than those three people. And I had a chance to bend the representative's ear backstage, and we've got an issue now before the committee that she said, hey, I'll jump on that. But she's been an ally, she's been an advocate, she's walked her talk, and Congresswoman, I want to say in front of all of these people, thank you from the bottom of my heart for standing in the gap for independence like the Black News Channel. You and Congressman Rush and Congressman Butterfield, and I'm going to give you a fist pump. Thank you.
Well, thank you all, and I hope you all can stay by for a reception and enjoy the good food and fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you.